Hey, do you care? Do you really? It's Thanksgiving. Do you care? Well, guess what? If you do care, how do we know? See, people don't care about you until they know you care about them. And that's what this show is all about with Brian Poduska, me, Stephen Beaver, and a bunch of other. Steve Lester's going to be on. It's going to be a great show. We're going to talk about the acronym CARE, the care factor. So don't miss it because I know you care. We care.
What's up, everybody? Brian Poduska here. Real Talk with Brian Poduska is the show. Welcome. Stephen, thank you for that intro. We do care, as you said, especially this week. It's Thanksgiving week, so we care even more. But CARE is, as you mentioned, the theme of the month, the business theme of the month, and it is an acronym, C.A.R.E. What does it mean to care? Well, the C stands for communication, the A stands for accessibility, the R stands for responsiveness, and the E stands for engagement. So we are going to dive deeper on each of those words and actions. These are the 4 core actions that set the foundation for you as a person, you as a business person, you as a business owner, you as an entrepreneur, and really throughout life. So we will dive into those with our guests, Mr. Steve Lester, and our co-host, Stephen Beaver. Before we do that, I'm going to talk really briefly about my company, Real Property Management Focus, where we focus on your real estate investments. We are a full-service property management company. We do focus on your real estate investments. So we work with investors, intentional, big, small, beginners, advanced. We have some unique tools, Wealth Optimizer, that help you analyze an investment property from all different angles, takes a look at your cash flow, takes a look at all the returns, cash on cash, return on investment, however you want to look at it, we have a metric for it. We can help you purchase that property. We can obviously help you management. That's what our name is. And then we can help you sell it on the back end when you want to move into something bigger. So that is Real Property Management in a nutshell. We are here to help you with your real estate investments, take you as the investor out of the communication loop with your tenants, and really maintain and carry the value and carry the increase the value of your property. So Real Property Management Focus, where we focus on your real estate investments. Today, we are focusing on the care factor, as Stephen mentioned. So Lennon, if you wouldn't mind, bring Stephen in and we'll say hello. What's up, my man?
Hey, you and me. And guess what? We're against the world, but you know the news? We're winning. It's true.
We are winning.
I just checked the scorecard. We're winning.
That's right. Well, we made it to another Thanksgiving, so we are winning in that regard,
Thankfully,
right? Another time to be thankful. I'm thankful to have you on today. Your bright colors and everything else always cheer me up. So good to see you, Stephen.
Mission accomplished.
That's right, man. That's right. And TMV. So tell us a little bit about what TMV is. I know what it is. Everybody who's been around you knows what it is. It's an awesome acronym. So tell people what TMV is and tell people about yourself.
All right. So TMV means take more vacations. And no, I'm not a travel agent, but that's the number one question people ask me, even after I've told them what I do. Travel agent, right? And I always say the same thing. Yes, I put people out of work, so they have to TMV, take more vacations. And then people go, what are you talking about? And I'm like, let me ask you a question. How many McDonald's franchise owners do you think flip burgers for a living? 0. Right. But as entrepreneurs, what do? We have this vehicle that's going to take us to 65 so we can retire, which, by the way, rarely happens. 99% of the time it doesn't. And we drive the car, we put gas in the car, we clean the car, but we do everything. But the fact of the matter is the further away you are from the car, the less work you have to do, the more money you make, so the more you can TMV, take more vacations. Recently, I've just found out that my coaching doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because you're making this money and you're spending this money. And then when I come along, you make this money, but you're still spending that money. So what I did is I found a way that you can build a business. You can have your own bank that makes 2 to 4% for the rest of your life on the deposits. It's totally legal. The government knows about it. But actually, they put a limit on it because they know, right? And it's how the rich get richer. And so I'm showing people in an hour how they can totally change their life, right? So now, not only I help them with their time with their family, I help them with their time with their money, so they can invest and save money at the same time. Use your money twice. So it's a cool thing. I've been really just blowing the people. Every time I talk to somebody, they're like, "Really?" And I'm like, "It's that simple?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's that simple." And so that's been a real crazy fun time that I've had. It's just amazing when you start to see that you really can become financially successful, right? There's not a magic science that you don't have to wait. You have to wait. Everything takes time, but you don't have to wait for somebody else. You can control your own life, which I think is what everybody wants to do, right? You want to control your life. You want to control your finances. You want to control your time so you can spend that time with your family, write a book, save the whales, whatever. So anyway, that's what I've really taken a shine, added this, and it's just, it's the missing piece that I've had. I've always helped people do this, but they've always just still spent that. And now when people see that, they go like, wow, I don't want to spend all that. I want to save this money and build it. And it's just amazing. Anyway, don't get me started. You see, you got me started. I told you not to get me started.
Well, I mean, that's pretty awesome that, you think about it from a P&L perspective, right? You've got revenue, you've got expenses, and then you've got your bottom line. And the way to increase that bottom line, you either increase revenue or you decrease costs, or hopefully do both. And so you're working on both of those from a personal.
We were at a meeting. I'm just going to steal your show a little bit. We were at a meeting. I goes, maybe is a year ago. And you said, what's your number? And I was the only one in the room that got it.
Right. That's right.
What's your number?
Yep.
And I won't give my number out, but the number is, what would it take for you to have all your bills paid for? Residual income, right?
You got
it. So anyway, it's sort of like that, but not really. But yeah. So kudos to you for you're already way ahead of the food curve. So good job. Anyway,
I like to call that. I like to call that my FU number. And we can go deeper on that at another time, but yeah, that residual income equation is always a fun one for me, and especially the business that I'm in, real estate investing. That's exactly, if you're in it for the long haul and you have investment property, that's exactly what it provides: residual income, and then obviously the underlying value of your investment. So just a different angle, a different vehicle than what you're talking about, but absolutely, I get it. And the more you can educate other folks on it, the better. So awesome. Well, our business topic of the month, as you know, is C.A.R.E, right?
Yep.
And it sounds like we've got an awesome guest who practices, preaches, and lives it, and has for a long time. So what I'd like you to do is introduce the guest. Let's bring in Steve, and I guess we've got a whole host of Steves today, right?
Right.
So today is the Steve show, the Thanksgiving Steve show. But just give him a brief introduction, and we'll let him go deeper on how he got to where he's at.
Yeah, he's got so many stories and wonderful things. When you talk about C.A.R.E, I think they've got a picture of him by the acronym C.A.R.E. Because this guy, no, seriously, this guy is amazing. He's already changed. We've only become really good friends the last month or two, and he's already changed my whole world. Right? Every once in a while, you run into somebody that makes you more, makes you better, makes you feel like you want to do things. And it's not like I didn't want to already, right? But he's like a catalyst. He enhances, right? He enhances people. He's such a giving person, and so not, it's okay to be giving. It's a good thing, but to have the knowledge and also to have the giving, right? So he doesn't hoard the knowledge. He's not that scarcity mindset. He just is more. And he's done so much in his lifetime, and he's doing more. I mean, it's just more and more and more. So Steve Lester, how I met him was through a networking group, and he's the only one that's had a triple master chapter in this networking group, which means master chapter is 25, double master is 50. Nobody, barely some people have gotten to 50. This guy did triple. He had like 82 or 83 members. I mean, and he did it, I mean, his way, right? How much does he care? He doesn't want people. He wants quality people. Think about that. When he asked them to get members, we need more quality people like you guys, right? He understood, right? That it's not about the masses, it's about the quality. That's how he built. And that's, anyway, I'll take up the whole show talking about him. He'll have 5 minutes to be able to say what he does, and then that'll be it. So without further ado, Steve Lester, come on down.
Well, how the heck do I follow that? Goodness gracious. I will tell you, my true claim to fame is that I know Stephen Beaver. I mean, that gets me indoors that, that otherwise I wouldn't have a chance. So
the golden ticket right there.
Oh my gosh, mention that name and you are in, baby. Thank you both for being on the show today. It's actually interesting. When Stephen reached out the other day, he talked about the acronym C.A.R.E. And I said, well, I guess it's true that great minds do think alike, because I turned around and sent him mine, which is one of my foundations. So I don't think it's by happenstance that both of us, I believe, have been very blessed and very successful. But I think part of it because this is a foundation of our business. You may have seen or not seen, I'm a realtor with Fathom Realty, been in the business 11 years. Not planned to do so, but 11 years in, I'm 100% referral based, which either means I just really suck when it comes to marketing and stuff like that, or just, but I will tell you one thing I've always shared with people for a long time. I really believe the truth that people really don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. I really believe that, because and so it all leads into basically you have to decide in business and in life. Do you want to build your business by relationships or transactions? You have to choose. And I chose, Stephen chose, we all chose to do it through relationships. Be relational, not transactional. But to do that means you have to care. And there's 4 key parts of it. All of them I think are equally important when it's all said and done. But I do believe it is the foundation or the framework to be very successful in building those relationships, which eventually will build your business and allow you to be successful and not always having to go out and hunt for business, because the business will come to you because people know, like, and trust you. I mean, I feel that way with Stephen. What do you think, Stephen?
I think you're spot on. And I'm just going to go right into the first C, communication, right? And communication is truly understanding that person. That's true communication. It's not like we're just using words. We're using the words that communicate our heart and soul. It's all about, we're communicating on that level. And so when you communicate with somebody, the transaction versus relationship, guy comes in, he wants to communicate to you, right? Opens up his computer and says, let me show you what I got. Well, that's communication, I guess. But you and I, we're like, you so I have 2 questions. Okay. You've got, was it 6? I think it was 6. Steve was 6 questions. He's got, so when I talk,
my 6 questions. Yeah.
I've got 2 main questions. I want to hear your story, right? I always say this, and I have to say it this way because it comes off strong.
Right.
I said, but I don't really care what you do. I don't. Right. I care how you got there, because you see, that will tell me so much about you. Yeah. And then I can care for you if it meets my values, right? And then my other one is, I always, if you're married or you have kids, I like to know all about that, right? Yeah. And one thing I found is that everybody likes to tell a story, and they like to tell their story. right? And if I can learn more about that person, then I can understand, I can communicate on that level and understand how it really works, right? How this person works. How can I help that person? I can't help Steve. I mean, maybe hey, Steve, let me explain to you about C.A.R.E. And I go through a 30-minute dissertation. And he's like, dude, been doing it for 40 years. Oh, because I didn't take the time to communicate with him, to get the information, to understand him, right? So, that C, and it starts there, communication.
Well, I think a big key, and I always tell people this with the people I'm mentoring or just people in general. To me, the most important part of communication when you're a business owner or you're a service provider, whatever, you have to be able to communicate your value. Your value is what's going to separate you from other people. The problem is too many people just say, okay, well, I got a value proposition, and they read it off and they think, no, you have to understand what your value is to that specific person based off their wants and needs. You've had to listen. Secondly, then you have to understand or be able to communicate that value to that specific person. I think, because again, I think we're just too all inclusive. And I just think if you, number one, understand your value to the person, but then understand more importantly how you can communicate that value to that person, I just think it goes so much further towards really showing them how much you care. Because number one, you listened. Number two, you really wanted to know what their wants and needs were. And as Stephen said, it's the story. The story to me will tell you so much about a person but again, so many people listen to respond and don't listen to learn.
Yeah.
And yeah, to that point, Steve, I'm curious. So you're a fellow realtor like myself.
Yep.
And fellow networker. So, I've heard lots of great things about you and how you run chapters within Master Networks. I'm also a member of Master Networks.
Okay.
And so curious, when we talk about stories, what drove you to real estate? Question number one. And then, I know you're very active in leadership within Master Networks. What drove you to, eventually assume those leadership roles, and what makes you passionate about doing that?
Okay. Well, with regard to real estate, I actually got in the business or got involved back in 2009. I was having double knee replacement surgery. My wife is a very well-known person in the title business in Collin County in the Dallas area. And she and all of her friends decided I should become a realtor. And since I had all this time on my hands after double knee replacement surgery, I did my classes, got my license, and then just kind of jumped in with both feet. From a standpoint of Master Networks, it was really nothing more than a request by somebody, Brian, that you might know, Susan Hubeck, who has owned many Keller Williams offices here locally. Susan was the regional partner for Master Networks, but also she and her husband had bought cars from me a long time, for many years when I was with Park Place Lexus. And she said, would you consider doing this? And I really thought about it hard because I wasn't a big networking person in that regard, but I did it. And we grew from 5 members to 82 members. But I also got yelled at every week because I stood up every week and said, we're going to grow with quality, not quantity. Well, in the business networking world, if you own it, that's not what you want to hear.
Right.
But eventually we proved, that, because I believe that quality people attract quality people, as evidenced by this little group here today. So, and really, honestly, when it's all said and done, in answer to your question, what we're talking about, one thing that I really believe when I tell other chapter presidents, if they want to grow, I tell them they have to care. They have to care for their people. Treat them. We have a culture of family. Because let's be honest, what will you not do for your family? And that's what it's all about. So it all ties right back into what we're talking about, where you have to care for the people and generally want them to do the best they can do, and in turn they'll help you do the best you can do.
Yeah, I like that. I like that perspective, especially from, like you said, if you're running or if you own the networking group, you just want numbers, but
Right.
the numbers will ebb and flow if you don't have the quality individuals and that care aspect, and really the perspective of, hey, we are all family.
You'll lose as many members as you gain.
Exactly. So the longevity, if you have that care factor, if you have that, that family feel to the group, you're not going to lose members, and you're going to gain members, and it's going to be magnetic. Whereas if you're just trying to grow just sheer numbers, yeah, you may get a bunch because you put in a good marketing effort or a good membership push. But if you're not treating folks with the care factor, and if you're not looking at it as a family, then you're going to lose members pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I just want to bring in the A now, because when I first met Steve Lester, I didn't put this together. This guy is like a secret ninja with words and ideas. But he came into the chapter that I was at, and I had him do this talk about how to build chapters. And we had a back conversation later on. And I said, I said something, and he goes, Stephen, your best ability is your availability. So, and your accessibility. So is the A for it. So I was like, it didn't dawn on me, and there's like, this guy is, I mean, when you talk about living it, right? Your best ability is your availability, right? If somebody needs you, I mean, not to take time, my stuff, not to take time away from your family, but your availability. I mean, you make time for what's important, and when you're working with people, right? And so that's something that has really helped me because I'm such a master of, do this. I'm very systemized, right? But at the same time, you have to have that flexibility, right? To have that availability. So, ooh, that just rhymed.
Man, you amaze yourself sometimes.
Well, Dr. Seuss actually didn't write those books. Okay, I gave him the credit for it because I'm that kind of guy. But anyway, that's another story. We don't want to go there. Yeah, so that availability, I hear it all the time now. I guess I hear it because I look for it all the time now. You can't see what you're not looking for, right? And so that's the thing when you meet somebody like Steve or you, when you're saying, when we were doing these things, right? You're 22. It reminded me, right? I mean, it's in my head, but it reminded me, right? So what's your number? So anyway, I just thought that was, it's one of his little nuggets that most people kind of go, ooh, that's cool, but they don't get it, right? Am I right or what?
I like that, the availability, the accessibility, and we just had the previous week we had talked about. We had somebody on who was a dietitian, and they have in-person appointments with with their clients. And if you're not accessible to your clientele, how are you going to succeed? Especially, everybody has a little bit different business, right? Steve, we're in the business of service to our clients,
right,
from a real estate standpoint. Stephen, your service is you're providing them advice, coaching, ability to TMV, take more vacation, free up their time. So that's a service-based business as well. If you're not accessible, you don't have a chance to succeed, because I mean, you need to be there for your client. Usually it doesn't have to necessarily be in person. For the last week's host or guest, they did have to be in person. So accessibility has different meanings for different professions, different services that are being provided. But certainly if you're not accessible either in person or by phone, by Zoom, whatever it is, you're not going to succeed. What I do want to do is take a break and give a little bit of love to our sponsors. So let's do that right now, and then we'll come back. And I want to bounce a few things and ask you guys a few questions about the C.A.R.E acronym. So first up, we have Liberator Health Insurance. So this is owned by one of our co-hosts, Greg Holdberg. It is time to enroll. It's enrollment time for health insurance, and that's what Liberator Health Insurance provides. It provides the best value and affordable health care. The deal of the week that Greg is providing this week, he just signed up a 54-year-old accountant and his 23-year-old daughter for great coverage for $570 per month. If you have been out there to the government marketplace, you know that is pretty much unattainable in those plans. So like I said, if you have gone through the process or you're about to or are going through the process, please reach out and give Greg a call. He will educate you on what your options are. A lot of folks don't know about these options. So he, at the very least, he will provide an education for you. Reach out to him at 214-886-4688 or visit at the website www.liberatorhealthinsurance.com. And then our good friend Tom Rowe, been on the show before. He owns a company called Wines with an Appeal. It's a fundraising company. It's a fun fundraising company that is dedicated to assisting people fundraise for their favorite nonprofit organization. They provide a fun and educational program to entertain your donors and increase their wine knowledge that could potentially cost the fundraiser nothing. That's right. Could cost nothing. And the track record that Tom has, it basically won't cost anything because all you have to do is cover the cost of the wine that he is presenting at the wine tasting. And once that's covered, all the additional sales past that go to the charity or fundraiser of your choice. Not only that, but you also have the opportunity to purchase wines that you won't find on your grocery store or liquor store shelves. So they're unique. He has relationships with vineyards in California as well as overseas in Europe that provide wine that is really tough to get. So if you're interested in a free fundraiser, basically send an email to Tom at wineswithanappeal.com or call him at 214-621-5216 for more information or to schedule your event. Awesome. So, gentlemen, back on the topic of C.A.R.E. Okay. I've asked this question of everybody on the show in previous weeks, so I'm going to ask you guys as well. There's no wrong answer, but is there
C?
Well, that is an answer. Which of the letters C.A.R.E. Again, communication, accessibility, responsiveness, and engagement are the letters that go with the words that go with the letters. So, if you had to choose one and call it the most important, which one would you choose?
I'll let the master go first.
I'm going to say the accountability, because you have to be held accountable to communicate, to be responsible or responsive, engaged. I see so many people that want the responsibility or to want to be responsible, but they don't want the accountability. And so I'm going to say the accountable. I think everything else revolves around that particular, in my humble opinion.
Okay, that's our first vote for the A. We were joking about this last week that if you tally up all the letters, poor little A was never said first. So that's the first vote for A. Stephen, what's your choice?
So I love the your best ability is your accountability. But if you've ever seen me in person or on the show, engagement, baby. Just engagement. So many people are scared just to wear a shirt like this, even, or just to go up and say, "Hey, I like your attitude. I like your smile." Right? You just got to engage sometimes with people. So for me, engagement is everything. My wife makes us do a number when we go out now, and I'm like, first time she does, like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "We need to have a number of how many times somebody's going to say something to you or comment about you." And like we were at the McKinney Downtown Trade Show for 45 minutes a couple of months ago, and we had 9 comments. One guy just picked up a huge fan and did this to me. And I went, without missing a beat, I went, "You're my biggest fan," right? But so right, so you just that engagement. I like the engagement. Steve is spot on with his. I don't know if there's really a wrong answer, but I think it's a personality answer that we give because we all see things a little bit differently in our own world. So E for engagement, E for effort.
Okay. Well, yeah, there is no wrong answer and we've said that, and actually, Steve, you said it earlier. There's not one that's more important than the other. They're all, and they all kind of commingle, right? What we've talked about in past shows, if you spell care backwards, starting with the E, so the engagement piece, right? If you're not engaged, you can't be responsive. So you're going backwards on the R. You can't be responsive. If you're not responsive, you can't be accessible or accountable. And if you're not doing the E, the R, the A, that means you're probably not communicating either. Yeah. So it's almost like if you go backwards in the word, they're all built on each other. They're all, commingled. The word escapes me, but there's a good adjective out there for it. It just I can't think of it right now.
Well, you can't care unless you have all four components.
Correct. That's right.
No matter what you do, you can't. If you don't have all four parts, then you really don't truly take care of your clients.
No, that's exactly right. And I like that the concept of going backwards, right? And almost the bookends too. Stephen, you chose engagement as your most important one. What we found in the past weeks, communication usually is I'll call it the most popular answer. But engagement, you're right. That's what kicks it all off. If you're not engaged, you can't do any of the other stuff. So I like that one. I do like communication as well, because if you're not communicating, you can't do the other ones.
Yeah.
It's almost what I'll call kind of the glue that holds it all together. But you can't have one without the other. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? You can pick your saying about it, but
right.
You really can't care as a verb without having all of the different adjectives that go along with the acronym working together.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
all right, another question for you on the CARE, the CARE acronym. Can you succeed? Can your business succeed if you don't focus, or if you don't do one of those well?
The answer is yes, but you won't have a business that performs above average. Let's just say you won't have an exceptional business. You can be a jerk and have a business and make money. Okay. There's not plenty. That's a fallacy. Most business owners are well intent and everything, but there are a few jerks out there. 8 or 9, as Jim Rohn says. The problem is they move around quite a bit. So you might run into them every once in a while, but there's only 8 or 9. Right. But you could have a business that does it, but is it a business that people are going to stay at? Is it a business that's going to people are going to talk and be raving fans at? I would say no.
Stephen, Can you have longevity in a business without that? Because as you said, those 8 or 9, and I've watched this before, they bounce around, but a lot of times they bounce around from business to business, from brand to brand, title to title. They're still in the entrepreneurial world, but as Steve Lester was saying earlier, they haven't built those relationships. They've been so transactional that it's hard to find that staying power and continue to grow. And it's easy to be mediocre. Anybody can do that.
Yeah. So I can give you the stats on that. 99% of the time, no. And the reason is after 10 years, 99% of entrepreneurs got a business. And I guarantee you, if they all, instead of looking at their business plan, even the 1-3-5 that they talk about and all, whatever, I don't care. If you just studied the CARE and made that your center line and then made your business plan off of that, I'll bet you they'd be in business a lot longer and make a lot more money and they'd be a lot happier. That's my opinion. But so the majority of the time, 99% of the time, no, the stats show that they don't. And it's not because they don't, they care, but not in the way we're talking about, right? Look, if you don't If you don't know how to swim, water is dangerous, right? So if you don't know, if you don't know about the CARE acronym, you don't understand how that works, and you do care about your people, but you don't have this guideline, right? You don't have the roadmap. There it is, the roadmap. It's all for naught.
Well, I think what happens is you care more for the results than you do for your clients.
Yeah,
Amen.
unfortunately.
So, Stephen, I agree with you. Yeah, you can be successful, but you're going to be successful running a transactional business.
Yeah.
Or having transactional people work for you. You can't truly, unless you do all four of these, I don't believe you can build a business built on relationships. I think you build it on results and basically, spur of the moment type stuff and instant gratification, not the long-term success that we should all strive for.
Well, and how hard is it to maintain a business? Especially in the world of real estate. You said it earlier, Steve, that you have 100%. Your business comes 100% from referrals. So how hard is it to build a business if you don't practice all the CARE acronyms? If you're transactional, how hard is it to build a business and keep a business? You have to work that much harder to find that next transaction, right? If everything's a transaction and everything's a number, your repeat business, your referral business is very difficult to come by.
Well, I know in our world, everybody knows 9 to 10 realtors each. And I really don't want to have to compete any more than I have to with those 9 or 10 other people. And if I can eliminate that by simply building that relationship and being people's real estate guy, Brian, or people know that you're the person, it just makes it, number one, it makes your job more enjoyable. Number two, I think you are more, because like I said, if I had to go out every time and try to compete with 9 or 10 other realtors for a client, I would not be very successful. I just would not be. So I just think it's, as I said, I think it's imperative. And I think you will find, especially when all these days of COVID are behind us, the people that survived and have done really well will be the ones that were relational people.
Amen. Hey, I got a quick question to follow up with Stephen and you, Steve. I was watching something the other day, and they were talking the difference about being rich and being wealthy. And when we talk about these people that can be successful with business that don't care or don't show that type of care and may be transactional, they can generate income. But do they generate wealth? Because is wealth not created over time through repeat and sustainable relationships?
I think so, and I think the other thing that kind of gets lost, and I can speak from experience, having been 30 years in the retail auto industry, the transactional people leave behind a wake of problems, customer issues, you name it, lawsuits, because again, they've told that client whatever they need to tell them to get that deal done. And that ends up leaving a mess for somebody else to clean up. And I've seen plenty of those people come through. Boy, they're hot shots for 60, 90 days. But the aftermath is not pretty. It's not pretty, and they move on, and they just keep changing. And so, no, like I said, there's that old saying that I tell people, not only do I eat well at night, but I sleep well at night. And that's simply because of the fact that I don't have to spend my time trying to remember what I told somebody. I gave an honest answer, whether that's what they wanted to hear. And so, so I get to eat and sleep well at night and not have that path or that trail behind me catch up with me.
Yeah, no, I'm all over it. I'll second that. True wealth isn't about money. As a matter of fact, most millionaires that are successful, and most of them do care, they give more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they have parties, they have barbecue parties, and everybody's supposed to bring their checkbook, and they do a fundraiser and they raise $50,000, $100,000 for a barbecue. Right. I mean, these people, they don't, people have a misconception, but they got wealthy because they cared. The care came first. The wealth came second. Right. And then what they did with their wealth showed that they cared. Right. Because the more you make, the more you can give. And that's the craziness of true wealth. Right. The more you help people get what they want, the more people will help you get what you want. I mean, Zig Ziglar's probably most famous quote.
Yep.
Right. And it's just amazing how we look at it. And we have this, unfortunately, Steve I wasn't, my dad didn't raise me like that. My dad was disclaimer. My dad was in the CIA, certified internal auditor. Okay. But he was very, very much this is what you do, this is how you do it. And he was very successful. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he made a lot of great investments, but I came across this more gregariously, more naturally. Right. And so but I did raise my kids differently than my dad. So my kids did kind of get this. It wasn't back then when I did it, but they definitely, mimicry is 95% of all learning, right? So you hang around Steve, Brian, and me, or whoever, right, that does this, it's going to rub off on you. You're going to say, wow, this guy does that. Why are they so successful? He's so nice. He's a pushover. No, we're not, but we are nice and we do care. Right. And so you 95% of all learning is mimicry. So if you tell your kids not to curse, damn it, well, guess what they're going to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
You tell them to open the door for old people and you never see them do it. Talking, right? I want to see the walk, not the talk. So anyway, I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but I did. But now I'm back.
Well, I'm going to start wearing more colorful Hawaiian shirts the more you appear on the show.
I got 7. All right. I'm not saying one for every day, but I do wear them on days that end with Y. So I'll give you one,
I do have a cool one that I got years ago, and it's funny. I always find it, or not always, but every once in a while I'll find it like balled up on the floor of my closet, because my son and daughter both borrow it when it's Hawaiian shirt, whenever they have a Hawaiian shirt or vacation theme or something.
Right on.
So, and of course they never hang it back up. So it's always ends up balled up on my floor, which I have to do the laundry and,
It's the rotary cuff. For teenagers, it doesn't work that way. You can't get it unless they have it questioned, right?
Right. Exactly. All right, so we got about 7 or 8 minutes left. Steve, I want to get your perspective on the real estate industry spin on this, and how how you view C.A.R.E. and how that sets you apart, because I know you practice C.A.R.E. How does that set you apart from the 9 other agents that everybody knows? And you and I have probably 10 times that in our Rolodex of other realtors. But
as I said earlier in the show, for many years at Master Networks and just in general, I've always shared that thought that people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. If you're going to build a relationship with somebody, it's going to start with trust. Stephen will tell you in my 6 questions, the last 3 are: what are your 3 favorite hobbies? What are your 3 favorite passions? And what are the 3 things you absolutely positively were not going to share with me today? And so very quickly I get to know people, and I'm like him. I'm all about the story, because everybody wants to tell you where they are in their business and where they're going, but nobody ever shares with you what got them started. What drove them to this point. So I generally think, and like I said, I'm fortunate that my wife's also in the title business, knows a lot of realtors, and I've met a lot of those people, and I can tell truly that their whole deal is they're looking at it at a transaction strictly. What can we do? I mean, Brian, you see these agents taking listings and basically just listing the house, whatever the client wants. They just want the listing. They want the sign in the yard.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you look up 6 weeks or, 2-3 months later, guess what? The listing's being canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's no showing. So I just think I think it boils down, part of care, I think, is also respect, having respect for people and really wanting, I think Stephen mentioned it earlier, because I really do like to surround myself with people who want to see me be as successful as I want them to be. That's why I'm very particular when I pick referral partners. Master Networks has built me an incredible inventory of referral partners because my name's on the line, and I don't lose sleep. I refer them out. People get taken care of. My clients appreciate it. That's just another way for us to build those long-term relationships, because these referral partners or these preferred vendors continue to take care of our clients. It's kind of like in the auto industry. The salesman sells the first car, service sells the rest. And I think that's the same thing here. So my belief has just always been that, when I believe it's possible to build a relationship, when I hear statistics that 3 out of 4 people can't tell you who their realtor was on their last purchase or sale of their house. So I'm making sure that doesn't happen. That's why next week I'm going to be driving all over North Texas delivering 5-pound pies to my clients. And that's why in December I'm going to be delivering really nice wine gift boxes to my clients. And it's nothing more than just a small way for me to say thank you and I appreciate your business. And my old tagline, which I still use today, is your trust is the ultimate compliment. And I mean it when I say it.
That's great. And I like hearing, realtors that do exactly what you're saying. You're going above and beyond for clients that you've already transacted with. Right. And I own the property management business, but, I do some sales here and there. And I love it when I can come out the back end of a transaction and call my clients my friends. They're not just clients, they're friends.
Right.
And that's when I know that I've done a good job. I've served them well. And that whole trust factor is there okay, we're friends now. It's not just a business transaction. We're friends.
Well, the relationship just begins when the closing takes place.
Right. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. That's really just the start, and what you do from there, you have to earn it every time. There are no freebies.
Steve, isn't that the definition of relational, though, is what you do for someone before, during, and after the transaction?
Yes, yeah. I think they're all equally important. And like I said, to me, when I really kind of like with what Brian was talking about at the end of the closing, when I can truly tell that people trust me, then I know that relationship. It's even more imperative for me to pay it forward and continue to keep that trust and earn that trust. And if I'll do that, then I've got a customer for life. And that's always been my goal, is to have customers for life.
Right on.
That's awesome. Well, gentlemen, we are up against it. I do have to roll, but I do want to say, Steve, thank you for coming on the show, Steven. So that's how we're going to tell each other apart. I should have set that up front, but Steven, thank you for bringing Steve in today.
My pleasure.
Always a pleasure to have another realtor on the show, talk a little bit of real estate, but certainly somebody who has practiced the care factor really across multiple different industries, but you're applying it and bringing it out in the real estate world. That means the world in our business because it is a relational business. And if you don't treat it as such, then you're just not going to be successful. Stephen, always a pleasure to have you as a co-host. You do brighten my day with your shirts and your engagement, bringing it back to the care factor.
Right on.
So happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Certainly a pleasure. Lennon, thank you for all that you do in the background, producing the show and everything you do for small business owners, large business owners.
Total unsung hero. We don't even get to see what he looks like. He's almost good looking. Really.
Almost on some days.
Check out his new Facebook picture. He looks pretty dapper in that one, which I think was just rebranded with the difference. So tying it into a business setting. So check him out on Facebook. Check out the difference on Facebook. Everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Spend some time TMV with your family, especially over the Thanksgiving holiday.
And drive carefully.
Certainly stay safe.
Fly carefully.
Drive carefully. Fly carefully. Until next week, we will have a new business topic of the month, which we will be rolling out here shortly. But until then, everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family, and we'll see you all next Thursday.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.